Okay, so let's get started here. Welcome to the third monthly Roundtable Discussion Group webinar. My name is Scott Schilling. I'm the ZPro Solutions event coordinator of these ongoing Roundtable Discussion Group meetings. IBM and ZPro Solutions have teamed up to take you on a monthly deep dive into the specific Maximo offering to give you a better understanding of the features and benefits of a particular offering and to enhance your organization's productivity and, most importantly, your bottom line. ZPro is a solutions provider with expertise in every aspect of your project management lifecycle. So please reach out directly if you'd be interested in discussing the level of effort and pricing for implementation of today's featured roundtable discussion topic. This month's roundtable, we will be discussing the latest Maximo Asset Management Scheduler. We will start off with Lori Pilgrim and Shalab Prashad with IBM presenting Scheduler, then opening up for Q&A with the assistance of Mike Christman and Bob Keeley with ZPro Solutions to address your specific questions you might have around Scheduler. So please enter your questions into the chat window or jot them down as questions as Lori is presenting. Then we'll open up for questions after the presentation. It's a tight schedule today, and I want to make sure everybody has a chance to ask their questions. This is all for you folks that are deeply interested in the new scheduler. So I'll open it up to Lori. Lori?
Great. So I am going to show a few slides. Don't be scared. I'm going to do mostly demo today. So I'm going to go through the slides pretty quickly. I just wanted to kind of give you a very high level, this is all that we do. So we're obviously targeting different roles with our applications, and as you can see, we have quite a number of them. I'm going to flip through some screens and just kind of talk briefly about what they do. Scott will have, and I'm sure we'll share a set of slides that are more in depth than what I'm going to show. I'm just going to flip through them quickly because I want to do demo today. So if we look at graphical scheduling, so this is a traditional Gantt view, being able to do scheduling at the longer term or the shorter term, being able to do dependencies, drag and drop, being able to do multi-column sorts, all those type of things that we have available in all our apps. But it's a visualization for scheduling work. So this is where you create your schedule date. And then we can also, within that same application, visualize your forecasted PMs so that you can get an idea of what your resource load and availability is going forward. We also, as you go through the process of work orders, from planning to scheduling to assigning to completion, want to look at our compliance. So how well am I scheduling compared to what work was performed? Being able to see what I planned for work, what was completed, and then what work orders broke in and what work orders had to break out because of those emergencies that came in. So we also interact with, and I guess this screen shows your resource load and availabilities where the other ones didn't, but this one's talking about our optimization. So we have optimization available for scheduling as well as for assigning and dispatching. And in this release, it is vastly improved. And I won't talk about it today because it's a whole subject on its own for another day, but we'll leave it that it is vastly improved and we can have your work automatically scheduled or assigned. Graphical Workweek is a brand new app with our July release, and I will be doing a demo on this one, but it's allowing you to schedule and assign at one time. Also new with this last release was Graphical Resource View. This is something that's been asked for some time, being able to manage your resource availability. And I'll do a demo of it as well. Graphical Assignment, our traditional way to assign work in a time base. which allows you to do dispatching if you need to do it, but it's assigning to the person for their day based on their availability from their shift and any vacation, sick days, that type of thing. We also have some every place templates that allow you to do a connected technician mobile app that allows them to see their work orders, complete them, and do all the work that they need to do on their mobile device. Graphical scheduling large projects is also a scheduling tool, but it allows you to do work orders for a larger range, right? So we're talking tens of thousands of records rather than a few hundred, few thousand that we allow within graphical scheduling. We also have a scheduler dashboard that allows you to track all your schedules and see how they're making out. What's the compliance on all of them as we go through? What are the costs? How close to completion are they? We also have an application called Appointment Booking, which allows customers to call into a customer care center and make appointments for technicians to go to their locations. And we've made that pretty quick and easy to see. And a last new app that we have created in our last release, and this is something that new customers struggle with, that their data isn't really clean enough to schedule properly. And so what we'll do is validate your data that you have in a schedule or a work list for assigning to make sure, to let you know that you don't have any duration or you don't have any planned resources. Those type of things. It's going to find and allow you to improve your data quality and allow you to schedule and assign work better. So I said I'd go through that really quickly, and I did. There are a couple of resources that I want you to know about. The community, we keep trying to add more content out there. There's lots of recorded demos as well as information for you out there. And then we call the Request for Enhancement tool. This is something that Scheduler, I think, has a reputation for paying attention to and building into the next release. So when you have ideas that aren't in the tools now, please put them into the Request for Enhancement, and we will be looking at them. So that's it for slides. I wanted to go through them really fast. I wanted to go through them pretty quickly because I really did want to spend the time on a live demo.
Sure.
So I'm going to log into Maximo with my reliable Mike Wilson user. And as you can see under the planning and scheduling app, we have all of these, but I'm going to concentrate on Graphical Workweek this time. So I have a number of demo data. So the other thing for a resource I should mention, Scott, is that we do have a preview site when you go to the community and join so that you can see the content there. I do list a site that you can go out and preview our applications for free. I mean, it's just, it's a public site.
Excellent, Lori.
Great. Okay, so we've tried to simplify the information that we're going to bring in. Graphical Workweek, if you're used to Assignment Manager, is really based a great deal on what Assignment Manager does. Hopefully with extra. So we'll see how you like it as we go through. But we've, a basic work query, start and end date for where you want calendar and shifts, and we're ready to go. So I'm going to go into the graphical view. And the idea is that we want to be able to not only schedule, but assign work as well. So, but I know it's more focused sometimes on, I'm just going to clear my filters and things that I have set up. So the idea here is that we're making, as you do assignments, it's happening immediately in work order tracking. There's no two-step to this. It happens immediately. So that's the first thing to know. Next thing to know is that we are, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Isn't that awful? So the other thing we wanted to show you is that we have load and availability. So for a craft, for a carpenter, at the top here, what we're showing is that the work that I've brought in for carpenters totals 14 hours, and the availability of the labor that are that craft is 24 hours in this case, because I have 3 people working in an 8-hour shift. And over here, you'll see that my availability, I have somebody, if I mouse over that they're on vacation that day. So my availability here is 16. So we do have, and it's maybe not as well known as it should be, but there's a system property that's available for all our application, for our assigning applications, that asks you if you'd like to keep your scheduled dates in sync with your assignment dates. So basically what we're saying is that if you set that on and you're using this app, that you are going to, when you make an assignment, your scheduled dates will adjust to the exact assignment dates. Okay, so that you don't have it just growing, the schedule start and end like you would normally do. So that all being said, if I want to do some scheduling of work, what I might want to do before I actually get started with assigning is I might just want to collapse and only look at my crafts, right? So I'm only looking for the scheduling information. So if I look here, what I'm seeing is that I've got pretty overloaded on my overhead line crews. Okay, so I might need to look and see that some of that might need to go into the next week. So if I select that and I put on a filter here that will filter my work orders to only what I've selected for resources down here, then up here I'm only looking at my overhead line crew work orders. So the next thing I might want to do is look at the priority of these ones. So I'm going to look at all my priority 9s and say okay. And so it's filtering to all my priority 9s for this resource. And I kind of take a look through and I look at what these work orders are, and maybe I select, you know, all of them actually. If I select all of these, and then I maybe say, well, this one I think I need to do this week, and the rest I think I'm going to move out to the next week. I can do that by right-clicking and say, move to set work today, and I'll pick something in the following week. And so I'm breaking work out of this week because I know I just don't have the room to deal with that this week. And so what you can see here is that I've rescheduled them into the following week, and my numbers have changed here to show that I probably can now get that work done in this week. So I'm just going to turn my filters off and unselect everything. And now I really want to do some assigning. So if I come back here, what I want to do is start assigning. So let's concentrate, you know, on the first craft, carpenter first. So if I select all of my carpenter and my carpenter laborers and put this filter back on, what I'm going to do is find all my work orders that need to be assigned. I can filter to waiting assigning, so I can only look at those. And I can go ahead and select work and make assignments. So if I look at this work order and go, oh, you know what, that's scheduled for 6 hours, but it's actually going to take a little longer. So I'm going to unlock and change that duration. And I'm going to make it's a 13-hour job. Okay. So I'm going to lock that so I don't wind up making more changes than I want to. I select this work order and I'm going to assign it to Brooke. So if I just double click on the Monday, it's going to assign the first 8 hours on the Monday and the remaining 5 hours on the Tuesday. I can cancel this if I don't want to split it or I want to think about that, but I'm pretty good with that, so I'm going to say okay. When I'm finished assigning, you see that now this is white I have 0 hours available on Monday, and I started with 7 hours. There was already another assignment for Brooke, and now I only have 2 hours available here. And what you'll see is that my allocation number has gone up for the week, so it's 35% allocated. Now, if I want to understand, so let me just do a few more assignments for Brooke. So let's just go ahead and assign probably the rest of the week here, maybe a bit more. And if I go ahead and assign, I can start here on the Tuesday. So it's going to do the 15th, 16th, 17th, filling all those jobs in, splitting work when it has to, and I can say okay. Now you can see I'm filling up my week pretty good, and I'm at 73% allocation. And you'll notice that there's color coding, right? So let's talk about that for a bit. So we have a legend that you can open up. For allocation, this is all adjustable within the system properties. So you can create as many values that you want here and whatever colors you want. So right now we've set it up that if you're under 50%, we just leave you at white or clear. And if you're, between 50 and 75, like green, dark green, and then if you go over red, 100, it's red. The other thing you'll notice here is we have the reason codes. So you can put whatever color that you want against your modified availability reason codes as you like, and they will show up here as you see that I have vacation. Now let's say that I have all my work assigned for the week. I've gone through and assigned everything. What I might have happen to me is that, we get to Monday and somebody calls in sick, and that somebody's already got something assigned to them. So what you'll see is that we have -8 hours in red. We've got a problem because their allocation went up to 91% because now they're not available on the Monday. But we still have assignments, and this red means that we have to do something about it. So what I'd probably like to do is, if I clear my status there, I find all the work that's assigned to her on the Monday. So if I sort by date, I'm going to find that it's just the one job that's assigned on Monday, because remember we split that. So because it's split, I might actually want to merge that split. And so it becomes the 13-hour job again. I'm at -13 now. And I can do an unassign here, and then I can reassign it to who might be available. Oh, I made everybody sick on Monday, so I'm in trouble on Monday. So, because I selected multiple, that's what it was. And so you can see how you can quickly adjust your modified availability for people as you go through, and how you can schedule and both assign from this application. So the last thing I wanted to show you is that I have assignments for this user or multiple users. So I can select one or more, and I can also export to calendar. So this is a new feature that we have done, and I can email it directly to them, but I'm going to do for the next I have to pick the date of the calendar. So if I go to June 14th, she's sick on that day now, but it'll do the next 5 days. And I'm just going to download this for now because I haven't set her email up. Say okay, and then I will get a file in my I have to download it, and it'll save that file, and then I can just okay, I'll grab that file from my site. Let's bring this over here. And I can add to my calendar here, and you can see it's filling in my work orders for the days that I have made assignments. So you can see I've done this for somebody else as well. But the idea is that you can see your calendar getting filled up. And I'm just going to close that. And that export to calendar, you can do it for multiple resources for multiple days, and you can do that in Graphical Assignment as well as Graphical Workweek that we're looking at. So Scott wants me to keep this to 30 minutes so we can have questions. So I'm going to go on to the Graphical Resource View, and some of the functionality from here we've actually put into the Graphical Workweek. As you've seen, I could do the modified availability from within there, but here we're kind of going to look at it not with work orders, but with the idea of really concentrating on our resources and for months at a time rather than just the week that I'm looking at. So if I want to come in here and start looking at, the vacation days, so I'm going to move on to the next work period of February, and I am going to start filling in the vacation days. So if I want a full, most people take a full week at a time, so I can just double click on this week for Ryan, and let's say that Rosina is also off on another week. I can start filling that in. If I want to set like a meeting or maybe training. So if I'm going to set up training for multiple people, I'm just going to select, say these 3 are going to be in training, not for the full week, but for a partial day. Well, let's do a full day. So they're going to do full day training on the 16th of February, and double click, and I get the 3 in that time period. So obviously a lot easier than when we were filling in the dialogue each time for each row for each of those. So hopefully you find that a vast improvement. The other things that I want to be able to show you that, so we have a meeting or a training set up this day, but I also want to look at what their assigned work is. So I want to see if that's going to interfere. So I have the ability, so if I move this out to June, and let's go to the 30th, and I refresh, I will find any of the work orders that are assigned. And of course, I picked the wrong person. She has no assignments, but you can start understanding what their assignments are based on, whether they can have a day off or those type of things. The other thing I find really helpful from here is view the availability. So I've only put in training for this person, but it will do it for the whole year, and I can find out what sick days they've taken, what vacations they've had. Maybe they only have 3 weeks, so I need to find out whether they've taken the 3 weeks or not. So this is just a nice quick way where you can filter and find out what their availability is for the year, and check on what training they've had or any of those type of things. Okay, I have 5 minutes left, Scott. I'm going to go ahead and go to Graphical, or the new data manager, a scheduler data manager.
Yep, sounds good, Lori.
Okay, so we've put this in place. I can look at any schedule from Graphical Scheduling Large Project, from Graphical Assignment, or Graphical Workweek, and look at their data. So if I push over, I have a number of ones here that I've set up with a lot of problems. So I'm just going to open up one of these, and what it does is bring all the information in from that schedule, and I can do query or validations against the calendar. So if I, in this case, validate my calendar, I can see that I have a problem when I set up my shift, that I don't have pattern day 1 and 2 have overlapping times. So, you know, it gets pretty technical as to what it's validating, and it wants you to go and fix that because it's going to be really hard for us to even visualize your availability if your pattern day of your shift is a problem. So I can go there from here and do that fix to the calendars. I can also validate my queries. In this case, I don't have a query, so let me go back to my list. So it'll show the query that I have, pretty simple one here, but it will validate it for best practices and the number of records that it's going to bring back. And then on the work side, sorry, that was bring back 0 records. Oh, that other data is not in there, so we'll just use this one. So if I go to work, I have to refresh. So that's going to refresh the schedule so that I get the dates in that I want. And so I've got 165 work records here, and if I validate them, hopefully my demo data is clean, but we'll find out. But it will find problems with my 0 durations. So all of these things that you see along the top, it's not necessarily something that you have to fix to be able to schedule, but so you can turn them off. If you don't use priority, for example, then you can turn that off and we won't test it. But we want to be reasonable about the work that we're trying to schedule. So if you have a work order that's maybe 600 hours long, maybe that's just a mistake and somebody meant 6 hours. So we're going to try and warn you about those things and allow you to fix it. Sorry, of course I picked something that's going to take forever here. I'm going to go to another site just because that one's never been whoops, sorry, administration. And you can get to the data manager from any application just by beside the schedule name. There's a all right. So this one already has it in here. Okay, so I can change. So I have a 0 duration here. So when I get that back, I might just change it to 6 hours and move on, right? So I can make those changes. When I say save, it's going back to work order tracking immediately. So we've tried to give you, so if I had something that was having a problem with planned labor, we give you a dialogue and you can change that information here too. So there's a mismatch. So I want to put 6 hours on my planned labor as well. So I can fix whatever validations are found right from here. I can go back to my schedule and now I can schedule my work cleanly. Okay, Scott, I filled my 30 minutes.
Thank you very much, Lori. Great overview of the new asset management scheduler. So what we'd like to do now is open it up for Q&A. We had over 70 folks register for this particular webinar roundtable discussion, and there's many that weren't able to join, so they have left us, Bob, myself, and the ZPro team with a number of questions that we'll be asking as well. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up for any questions to address. And I'll start off with the first question that I received from one of the organizations that couldn't attend. And what they're stating is that my organization is currently not using Scheduler. What data preparation is required to use Scheduler?
Okay, this is a good question. Let me, we go to our site. I'm going to put it here, but I mean, you need best practices on your job plans that create your work orders. Of course, you need durations. You need, so this is, you're still seeing my screen, Scott? Or did I stop sharing?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the community. You have to join it to see the content. I know it's kind of painful that way, but you do have to join. But if you come in here, we have a whole section on best practices. So preparing your data for scheduling, and then there's a performance paper as well. So it will talk about, making sure you don't have zero durations, making sure you have planned labor, making sure that you plan work at either the task or the work order level. But you can do both, but it's not best practice, right? But how to set up we have to have calendars, we have to have shifts. Your labors have to be assigned to them to be able to the shift, for us to be able to see them visually within assignment apps and things like that.
Okay. And I have opened up the mics for the attendees, so you should be able to unmute. Once you're done with your question, please mute again so we don't have a bunch of crosstalk going on.
Hey, Laurie, and I already posted the community link on the chat. And there are other communities too for Core Maximo and Anywhere, so feel free to explore all of them, and they have similar release collateral too as we have for Maximo Scheduler.
Thank you, Shleb. And I guess we didn't introduce you, but Shleb is the offering manager for the Scheduler product.
Okay, questions in the chat window, or you can unmute your mic and go ahead and ask a question.
Scott, you got a hand raised in the attendee list. Joseph, go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. This is Joe Steff in Idaho, National Labs, Floor, Idaho. What would the format of the reports be, and what's available? Are they still BERT, or are they some other report? And what do they look like as far as weekly, plan of the day, plan of the week kind of scheduling?
We don't have too many reports for graphical scheduling specifically. They are the traditional BERT reports, I believe. We have a daily and monthly view for labor and crew assignments, and we made that available in this last release for graphical work week as well as graphical assignment. So I think on the community, if we go under the applications, there is a site here, and so this graphical work week will have a recorded demo. I'll have to find where it is and pass it to I know I have copies of those reports, and I'll have to pass them to Scott to send to you. I'm sorry, I don't have them at my fingertips.
Okay, another question that's come into the chat window is graphic scheduling similar to Primavera scheduling? Can you add new crafts easily?
Can you add a new planned labor to your existing work orders? Not directly from graphical scheduling, but as you've seen within the data manager, you could do it from there with a dialogue, or go back to work order tracking and add it. But it will follow the rules of whether or not you're allowed to do it based on the status of the work order.
And I believe there still is an integration for Primavera into Maximo. Is that correct?
It's not supported. We dropped it sometime.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, good information.
Yeah, we did come up with the graphical scheduling large project, and at that time, I think they discontinued that, but I think one of the business partners may still support it.
Gotcha. I have another question that came in from a client that wasn't able to join. It says, I've used scheduler application without assignment. Is it possible to use assignment application without the scheduler?
Yes, and we have customers that do it with both scheduling and assigning. Some assign only, some schedule only. And like I said, using that sync option to sync your schedule dates with your assignment dates could be very helpful in that instance. But yes, that's totally, the apps are built so that you can take on what makes sense for you at that stage in your development of scheduling and assigning.
Good. Thanks, Lori. Next question.
Ben Howell has his hand raised. If you can go ahead and take yourself off mute, you can ask your question.
Yeah, hi, Laura. This is Ben Howell. Question for you. We watched you download someone's schedule so you could import it into a calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably showed it, or I missed it. Did that come down as an ICS? Is that what the download was?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't show it on my screen, but it wasn't an ICS, so it'll go into any calendar.
Okay. So follow up to that would be, you showed the download for one person, and then you could import that into their calendar. But you mentioned you could do it for multiple resources. Would you get multiple ICSs, or would you get one ICS that had all of those resources in it?
You would get multiple, one per resource.
Perfect.
So if you're emailing them, they'd go to each individual resource, but one ICS can have multiple days in it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. And Karen Franks, you've got your hand up. You can unmute.
Hi, I'm Karen Franks, working LCRA in Austin area. And the question I have is this Maximo Scheduler available out of the box kind of thing, or is it an option that's added? And what version is it available? Because we've been looking at Pasta Scheduler. I'm just trying to figure out, is this already available to us?
So it is a separate license. Shalom can talk about the licensing, but we've had it available. So Scheduler ships with your code, so you have the code already, but it has to be enabled by license key.
And Lori, what version of Maximo do you need to be at in order to start using Scheduler?
So what I showed today, the new apps would be 7612 Maximo for 768 Scheduler. But each release of Maximo has a version of Scheduler available with it, but they ship together, so you can't see 768 Scheduler on a 7609 Maximo, right? So they go together.
That makes sense.
And I'll add another point is till Maximo 7611. There was Scheduler and Scheduler with Maximo 7612, the latest release that Lori is demoing. So we simplified our packaging, so Scheduler Plus is combined into one.
Great. Another question, Lori, that came in the chat was, can you add additional labor hours to a resource on a distinct date?
Yes. So if I come back here, I'll go into either one, but I'll do graphical resource view. And I didn't show additional hours. I only showed adding or removing hours. So let's go back and show how you add overtime. So if you do, if I select extra time, and I'll do a partial day. And so if I pick Jane, and what it does is give me a dialogue. So, because it's not intuitive, right? So if she's working at the end of the day, so from 5 until 7, and I say okay, then it will come up and it'll show a little triangle here with their overtime, and you'll see that the availability of hours went up to 60. I got an extra 2 hours there. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Another question that we received from somebody who wasn't able to attend was, can you go back into a prior week and be able to see actual execution against what you had scheduled?
Right, so that's our compliance. So if I come back to this site, I have compliance set up. So if I go into graphical scheduling, and so this is way in the past, but it takes a lot to do the work orders and complete the work orders with actual hours and all that. So I just keep this one around. So when I look at this one, this graphical view, what we'll see is that I have completed work orders here. So I'll just stretch this over a bit. You can see the status. So I have completed work orders. And what I want to see, if I click on this one, is show hide actuals. And what I'll see is the target date, the scheduled date, and the actual date. So I targeted to have it done. Now this is within 1 day. So, you know, you'd zoom out if it was different days. I scheduled it for here. It was completed here. It looks like it was still stayed at 2 hours. But like if I look at this one, when I targeted it, I had it only for a couple hours. I scheduled, it seemed to have grown by an hour. And then when I completed it, I actually completed it in a lot longer time. So you can see it that way. But the other thing is that this is a rolling project. And so I can look at last week. And what I do is I start compliance at the beginning of the week. I finish compliance at the end of the week. And what I'm looking at is a snapshot at the beginning of the week. What did I plan? And then at the end of the week, what actually happened, right? So I planned for 50 hours of work. I actually did 84 hours, 84 and a half hours, gives me a factor here. Then I looked at, I planned 40 work orders. I only accomplished 35. I had 2 work orders that broke in and 4 that I had to remove, right? And then I can look at this in a dashboard. And so I can do this week after week, and I can start seeing trends as to how well I'm scheduling planned hours versus and work orders, as well as that break-in and breakout work.
Great, thanks, Lori. Another question that has come in is, can you quickly identify work orders that make up overscheduled work to reschedule?
Right, so if I scheduling. So if I want to, let me just see here. It's always easier to show than just talk about it, right? So it just takes me a minute to get into where I want to be. Whoop. This one hasn't been saved before. I load my demo data up rather than create it each time. So I have to remember to save before I can get in there. So what I'll see here is on my, wait for this to come up. So if I zoom to work and I look at my week here, you can see that pretty much everything's scheduled on Monday, and I have overages on each of these. So I can take my carpenters, I can sort by my carpenters, and I can see, you know, the duration of the work, all the work that is assigned to carpenters, it's all filtered to that, and then I can start moving things around according to maybe priority. So I might want to sort by priority and get those in first, and then move these ones out and start seeing how my resources line up. So if I move this one over here, you can start seeing that I'm going to start you know, reducing this and making this more reasonable as I go. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's got it. Other questions, folks? Feel free to open your mic.
Lori, one other question that came in from somebody who wasn't able to attend was related to being able to auto assign high priority work, even if there's a, you know, some kind of a production down scenario that you need people to immediately jump on. So how is that handled?
In Graphical Assignment, we do have the ability to define, let me just open up, I don't have data set up, but I'll describe it to you, and I think there's a demo on it that you can look at. So I have a schedule of work assignment, and I'm going through my day. Sorry, again, I haven't saved this one yet. Save. But down here in my more actions, what I can do is define. It's going to make me wait for it to assign, to save. You can, gotta find it, define emergency work. And so within this work list, what you want to do is further refine it. So I might say where will priority equals 1. So if I do a quick query builder and I say where priority equals 1, that comes in, that's called an emergency. So maybe that I only use 1 for those emergencies that I have to deal with at one time. And it will, show me what those are. But as save and close, and in more information, there's a refresh here. So refresh internal in seconds. So basically, on refresh, or this, this query that we just created is always going to be running, and it's always going to be monitoring if a work order is created. And you will get a icon up in here that let me see to work here, and that will come up and let you know. Oh, yeah, sorry, it's in here, but it will go from gray to black, and it will allow you to auto assign or allow you to pick. So you have your choice to have it automatically do it, and it'll find the closest person with the right craft that's available to assign the work, or you can look at the choices and make them yourself manually. Both are open there.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Lori, another question came in is, can we add a task from the Gantt view?
Can you add a task? Yes, you can. You're gonna make me jump around. This is actually fairly new, and I actually really like it. So if I, actually not this one, I'm going to go to, I need something with, actually I'll go here because I don't have to save it here. This view, this one. So I can do this at both the work order level and at the task level, being able to split work, which is a very handy thing. So if I'm looking at this work order, and, oh, sorry, this one is the one I wanted. So I'm looking at this work order, and I want to add a task in here. So what I can do is I can right click on the task and say split work. And so what it's going to do is that it's going to give me a copy, right? So it's created another task. It uses the next number, 70. And if I want to split it or just double it, I can change this. So if this second task is going to take 2 hours, and I'm going to say that I'm going to do something else here, whatever that might be, and I can change all of these fields. And you have to ignore this invalid binding in these 3 tabs. There is an open defect for that, but it's caused by aviation, but the screen works fine. And then what I can do is update my labor, but my materials, services, tools, all available from within here. And when I say OK, it will split, create that task, and it will also deal with the dependencies. So when I say OK, you notice that we had dependencies between each of these tasks. And so this one is going to put it in the order of dependencies that we were splitting on. So you might be splitting that across days. And so if I just make this a bit bigger, you can see that 70 is now in the mix, right? So if I take this one and just, this is a VM out on takes a little time sometimes. So if I select all of these and just do a forward pass, it'll make more sense. So it sees that this needs to go in between here. Okay. Does that help?
Good. Excellent. Thank you, Lori.
No problem.
Another question
Scott,
that
go ahead, Scott.
sorry, I got one more question that's come in here. It says, can we view item availability and show the availability for all planned items? I believe that's probably work order tracking.
So you actually have, sorry, maybe on this slide, view item availability. You can look at it from here. So it's available in work order tracking, but also available within our schedule.
Ah, good.
There's another one that might be interesting too, is that we have this other resources where you can see, hopefully I put, yeah. So you can see the maintenance and operation schedules, but you can also see your materials and your tools and their availability. So I'm requiring 2, and you know, this is a demo site, so I have minus 504 for some reason, so it's all red. But you can see that it will be based on your quantities available, your inventory rules and everything else.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Scott, I was just going to state that I don't see any other questions in the chat window, and I also do not have any other questions from the previously submitted list that I had.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Right. Group.
Okay, last chance, folks, to chime in. Your mics are, you can unmute if you'd like to ask a last question. We just have a few minutes left here. Okay, then. So, in closing, you know, please drop me a note on what topics that you'd like to see at our next IBM ZPro Roundtable Discussion Group webinar. In addition, as mentioned earlier, if you're interested in discussing the level of effort and pricing for implementation of the Maximo Asset Management Scheduler, please drop me a note. Thank you, Lori, so much, Shalab, all you folks for attending out there. And again, you know, drop me a note on something that you'd like to discuss at one of our next user group meetings, roundtable sessions. So with that, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Scott.
You bet. Thanks, guys.